Journey Academy Live. My name is Anthony,
I'm Gabby.
and we're here to talk about everything to do with voiceover.
Indeed. You know
What's
what?
our? We got our coffee cups today. It's got my. Oh, you've got a bottle, a water bottle. I
I
like
have
it.
been up for
Oh,
so
that's coffee in
long.
there.
Yeah, no, it's not coffee.
Oh, it's
It's
not
not.
coffee.
It's tea.
What is it?
Because I have been up. Trust me, I wish. I have been up since like 4 a.m. So I maxed out on my caffeine consumption. So I
Oh
had
my
to switch to
goodness.
some decaf tea. Yeah, yeah. But what are you gonna do?
Mm-mm-mm.
What are you gonna do? It's been one of those days, and I know you're going through it too.
Mm-mm-mm. It has
Yep.
been one of those days.
Yep, I'm prepping the studio for teardown. You're
Yes, you are.
dealing with storms knocking
Yeah, we
out
had
power.
bad storm,
Uh,
messed up parts of our house, just all kinds of stuff going
oh
on.
man.
So yeah, pretty crazy.
We're here though. We
But
made
we're
it.
here. We're surviving. Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about from yesterday the social media, what we're posting, what to post on social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Great topic. By the way, if you're new, make sure you subscribe and please leave a message, say hello, tell us where you're from, and as always, leave questions because that gives us stuff to answer and to talk about.
Mhm.
So we'd
Mhm.
love to hear from you guys.
Yep.
All right, so social media, what to post? I think that this is a great topic because it can be all over the place. First off, you have multiple social media channels.
Yeah.
So first I like to start off to say, first think about social media channels. Let's just talk about them for a moment before we even get to what to post. I
Sure.
like to think of each social media channel personally as like a different TV channel. All right. And each
Mm,
one of them has their own type of, style and like what they like to do. So, as you, for example, you have news channels and you have entertainment channels and you have sports channels and you have all these different types of channels
yeah.
and they have different content on those channels that work for them, right? So I think that's something important to first off note is that all these social media channels, they are different and they have different types of content that works on them, right? So for
Yeah, that's
example, on
true.
X or Twitter, right? That's a channel that is very quick hitting, newsy type of, PSA types of things like that, right? I mean, it's a very, very just sharing news type stuff, information, right? It's not a place where like LinkedIn, right, where you have like CNBC, right, where you have, there can be long articles, really in depth information. It's business oriented,
Mhm.
right? It's quite different. Those are
Yeah.
really two different platforms. So you're not going to necessarily put or create the same content you would for one as you would the other. Now, does that mean you can't have a variation? No, but I think just keeping on the same track with these different channels, you think about YouTube, right? YouTube is a very, it's all video oriented, right?
Mhm.
It's very visual. So it's supposed to be very visual. Instagram, right? Instagram is very pretty. And you think about what happens in Instagram, right? Instagram is very,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Visually
started.
stunning.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a visually stunning type of place, and so content that's not like that wouldn't necessarily do well. Now, I'm always gonna say there's always a caveat. Someone always proves you're wrong, but generally speaking, that's how it is. TikTok, right? We know TikTok, right, is these short, um, real. It can be fun, entertaining,
Mhm.
dancing, fun, but it also newsy has been very news, but it's not showy. I mean, it's not like Instagram where it's necessarily beautiful,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
not
more the
glamorized as much,
right,
yeah.
right,
Mhm.
exactly, right. And then of course you have Facebook, right? Which we all know Facebook. So you these different channels, they require different formats for the information you're giving. All right. So I think that's the first thing to talk about. All right, Gabby, you chime in with something.
Well,
Oh,
I
you're kind of off the screen too, by the way.
oh,
I don't know if you're. Yeah,
how
you're.
about now?
There you go. Yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
that's better. That's
everything's
better.
wacky. Everything
That's
is
better.
wacky in my world right now. It's so like
It's
I'm
like,
off
where's
kilter.
Gabby?
I'm off kilter. So if I'm leaning, it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah.
Your studio is
I
crooked.
I think it's interesting that you put YouTube in the collective here because a lot of people don't think of YouTube as a social media platform. And I 100% agree with you. I wish more people would,
Mm,
because especially for voiceover, it's a very, very powerful, very effective social tool for voice actors. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Um,
I think it's probably you I would tell everyone to look at it as the number one social
yeah.
media platform to
Yeah,
be
for
on
sure.
because it is the number two most right is the number two largest visited site in the world other than
Mhm.
Google, right,
With the
which is
biggest,
number
yeah,
one.
biggest search
Right,
engine.
which is the
Yeah,
biggest search
second,
engine.
but
So I mean,
Google owns them.
so yeah, so
Mhm.
absolutely. But you're right. Most people don't think of YouTube as social media.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, what you're saying, yes, that I think it's more about, it's not that you can't share the same content to multiple platforms. It really is picking and choosing the right platform. Because to me, a message that is going to be valid on LinkedIn is going to be completely boring to a TikToker.
right.
So it's simply a matter of, really picking and choosing the battle of which social media are you on and why, and how does that align with your business. So really that goes back to, right? It's not about us, it's about them.
Mhm.
It's about the
Mhm.
buyer.
Yep, yep.
And you just have to know where your buyer is and
Yes.
tailor your material to them.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So okay, so we've kind of talked about the platforms and we're kind of talking about now, knowing where your clients are and what
Mhm.
you know necessarily they want to see, and I think that's the next thing, right? I think something that will help you hands down with figuring out what to do is just what Gabby just said and then going a little further with it. So figuring out who your client is, this is probably one of those things that most people don't really spend enough time
Mm,
thinking about. And also, we all fall into a trap of, I call it like just the worry trap of being afraid to have a niche or being afraid
mm,
to target a certain area because we think then it eliminates us doing anything else in
right,
voiceover. So meaning like, I'm going to just target, podcasters, people who do podcasts. I want to be the guy who does, intro and outros as well as mid ad, adverts and different role ads. I want to be that guy,
right.
the podcast guy. You know what I mean? Well, you think, okay, well then does that mean I can't do a commercial?
Mm,
Does that mean I can't do e-learning? Does that mean I can't do all that stuff? And then if I just start posting that, then I will just be known for that and someone else. So first off, I'd rather you be known for something than nothing.
right,
That's
right,
it.
for
But
sure.
but second off, what it does though is when you pick something like that, all of a sudden it changes your mindset of, I mean, it's amazing. It'll open up a whole world of all kinds of things you will be able to post about,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Because if you don't have a direction, coming up with posts are quite difficult, right?
It can be. It can
Yeah.
be. And I think with regard to that, two things that are important. One, something is always new to somebody.
Yes.
It may not be new to you, but you can't think from that lens. You have to really sort of challenge yourself to go, okay, there are people who have never heard my demos. So for
Hmm.
those people, it's a new demo. There are people that have never seen my website. So for them, it's a new experience, a new website. So it's positioning your material accordingly and recycling it accordingly
Yeah.
so that it's not like you just go, well, I got this new demo, I posted that it was new one time and that's it. I've never like it's not evergreen, because it kind of is evergreen as long as you're using it. Then the other thing is, don't make it all business all the time, right?
Mm.
We have to show off other sides of ourselves. We
Yes.
have to show off who we are. We have to, the whole premise of social media is to share. And so, yes, that may be uncomfortable for some people, and it might,
Right.
not sit very well with the introverts like we talked about yesterday. But there's always something. There's always something. There's bound to be other things in your life that you engage in, that you're good at, that you enjoy outside of voiceover
Mm-hmm.
that other people do too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that thing is, don't be afraid to share, post, talk about it because it
Absolutely.
humanizes you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I become this guy who loves to have a schedule about what I'm going to post and what I'm not going to post, or when
Yeah.
I'm going to post, when I'm in, because I feel like it can be daunting to not know what's coming or what I should be doing or
Oh, for
whatever.
sure.
And hands down, no matter what we do, and as we go a little further into this, maybe the schedule and stuff like that, I just want to say, and Gabby and I were talking about this yesterday after we got off as well, but consistency is everything.
Mm,
You have to be consistent, and you've got to be consistent more than a couple of days,
yeah.
right? Because the reality is people are not going to recognize you or be aware of you until they see you over and over and over and over and over and over again. And a lot of times they won't even see you that much that you think you're posting and only one or two people saw you.
Right.
And that can be frustrating too. I think that that's an important thing to talk about,
Oh,
right? Like it can be
for
very frustrating. I mean,
sure.
look at Gabby and I, we post a lot, and it can be very hard when you put all this work and effort into sharing, and it's good information and it's very helpful, and then the algorithms or whatever, the algorithm gods determined to only show it to 100 or 200 people. You know what I mean? And it can be very tough, and especially when you're first starting, you might only get a couple of people that see it, and
Yeah.
you're like, this is useless, it's worthless, I'm wasting my time.
It's hard. It is. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you post something and you're like, I only got 5 likes. That's it. It's you
Yeah.
know, and it does become a bit of a shot to the ego, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
damn it, what am but it is, it's a gamble
Yes.
and yes, the algorithm is all it's there's so much. But the good news is there's tools. There's lots
Yes.
and lots of tools to help
Yes.
with that message
Yes.
distribution.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you use? Do you have a service or
Well, yeah, I've used a variety of services, and one of the ones, and it's funny because costs keep going up. But basically, if you want to post to a whole variety, so again, I was talking about, you want to post to a whole variety of social media channels at once instead of going to each individual one, which takes all that extra time.
yeah.
I use a software called Hootsuite.
Mhm.
Hoot,
It's a good one.
Hootsuite.
Yeah.
That's pretty popular. There's some other ones that are very popular as well. I don't know. What do you use? Do you use one right now, or
Um,
are you in between?
Buffer
Sometimes you're in between. Use Buffer.
Buffer
Buffer is
is
very
another one.
popular.
Yep.
Very nice one.
And
So,
there's a newish, I don't well, you know what? I don't know if it's new or not. It's new to me,
hmm
called Social Champ that I've been
mm,
hearing a lot of buzz about
okay,
here recently.
yeah,
Yeah. But
cool,
they all do the same thing. And I mean,
right.
even if, if you're just in the metaverse, then, Meta has its own, right, scheduling, publishing tools to help too.
Right. If you were just on, and a lot of them do, like Meta, you'll have Meta Business,
Mhm.
and that will link to your Instagram as well. So
Mm.
you can do Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is its own thing outside of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it is.
TikTok is its own thing.
Mhm.
But yeah. So you have these tools. A
Mhm.
good thing is a schedule. So I find that having a schedule, you want to be posting at least 3 times a week.
Agreed.
I currently, so you all know, I try to post, 5 to 10 times a day at the moment.
Oy.
You know what I mean? A variety, and I say
Yeah.
not on every channel,
Sure,
but
sure,
just a
sure.
total on other content, right? And but at least 3 times a week, because here's the reality. I've learned this over the years. It is very challenging to get people to see you uh, any other way. And the algorithms do like consistency.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? So let's just say you have a schedule, you make a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet has Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's just use that for an example. And you say at 11 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm just randomly using. You're going, I'm going to make a post on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. All right.
Mhm.
And, on that you'll put out, what are the posts that you're now we're going to come up, what are the posts we're going to make? Well, I
Mm.
find there's three types of posts that I always like to think about making. One post can be entertaining, one post can be educational, one post can be inspirational. I use
Mm.
those kind of ideas in my mind, and then you can mix them together.
That's very
Okay.
nice.
Yeah. And that will allow you to look at, because maybe one day you do, Gabby's quote of the day, quote of the week. You know what I mean? And maybe the next week is, something entertaining, the funny story about the first job I ever got, or, um, something about maybe you're taking, I'm taking a walk outside thinking about, funny animal voices, whatever. You're doing something personal. So you want to do a relatable post, something a little entertaining, right? And then,
Mhm.
then you want something educational, maybe you do a little bit of a behind the scenes, or
Mm.
something where, hey, this is how I approach, this is a good way to approach, e-learning scripts, whatever, these are help guide you, and then you
Yeah.
can put that down in your spreadsheet. You could even plan to create that. You could take one day and create all three of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then using something that Gab, what we were just talking about, you could then use. You could do it individually. You don't have to spend money to do it, but you could use Hootsuite or Buffer or one of these things to start planning it out.
Yep. And one thing too that I've been saying for years when it comes to social media, really since I feel like social media's early days, don't be the talent or try not to be the talent that markets exclusively to other talent.
Mm,
Tailor the content to have relevance to buyers because
good point.
it's really easy to attract other voice actors. And I
Yes.
mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having friends. But like if you start, if you're not careful, like let's say you start posting things that are like voiceover tips, right? Well, really, a voiceover tip is going to attract other voice actors or wannabe voice actors because that's more of a coaching
Hmm.
component than it is a tip that's directed toward, right, like an e-learning client or something like that.
Yes.
So you have to kind of be mindful of that, you know. There's
Very
only
smart.
yeah, you don't need to have thousands of other voice actors following you. You want thousands of potential clients following you.
I love that. And I see that often. That is a
Mhm,
challenge that a lot of
mhm.
voice actors do. They create content, and it's interesting content, but the content that they create is interesting to other voice actors,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And so, that's not who we're trying to target.
no,
Okay? So that goes back to the beginning when Gabby was talking about it's very important to know who your audience is, who you're trying to reach. And
mhm,
then think about it. If you want to become an authority, for that particular audience,
yeah,
right? That's not going to be, you know, the same type of content you would make for other voice actors.
mm-mm,
Okay, you can still it can still fall within those three areas I mentioned if you want to use that, but
absolutely,
but yeah, you still need, and yes, that will mean that you might have to learn a little bit about what your potential client
mm,
might be having challenges with, might be interested in, what they're doing. It's actually really wonderful for you to do that. Okay, because that's how you're going to know how to in the end
ah,
sell to them,
it's true,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I think
They're
it's
really
great,
good. I mean, so that's a simple look at how to and what you can post.
mhm,
And now here's a question: do you need to post everywhere on all those channels, like maybe Gabby and I do, or is one channel enough? And if so, what channel would that be? Okay. This is probably a question that is asked a million times,
yeah,
and it's a great question.
yeah,
So, Gabby, how would you answer that question?
hmm, I mean, I think comfort is important,
Hmm.
what are you comfortable with?
Hmm.
Because if TikTok kinda scares you and you look at that audience and you're like, "Oh my god, they're so young, they're kids, I don't relate to them," then yeah, that's not the place for you.
Right.
It
Exactly.
yeah. So it's about a certain comfort level with feeling like you're at least talking to your peers, or you're
Hmm.
talking to a group that you have something in common with. And if you're not finding that, then don't feel obligated to use that platform.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
I hear a lot of people always mention to say, "Hey, LinkedIn is the place to be," and it's that's the main place, the only place you really need to be.
I
Sorry,
don't
brother.
know about that.
Yeah, I would say that LinkedIn's great, but again, YouTube is the most watched. I mean, like you have all of these different places. Here's a perfect example: video production companies. They are. Think about it.
Yeah,
Where would they probably be? Instagram. They are
Instagram. Yeah, I
everywhere
was
on
gonna
Instagram because
say,
they post visually interesting things, and they
yeah.
love. They love. You know what their favorite thing to post is? Their equipment.
Oh
If
yeah.
you have done any, if you've looked in it, is they love their. So you find them. They post. They love their equipment the most. So,
Yeah.
like,
Creative. That's what I'm thinking. Like, creative clients are not spending an awful lot of
mm-hmm,
time on LinkedIn. I mean, they're
mm-mm.
there, but it's not.
Right, and a lot of times the only reason they're there is because someone else told them that's where they should be.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
not where they want to
It's
hang
like,
out though.
right. They're not, yeah,
Right.
they're not hanging out there. So I
Hmm.
think that's all pretty important to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think as we end this up today, finding that client, just going full circle, what Gabby said in a minute, finding who you want and then finding where they are,
Hmm.
right? Because it's not going to just be on LinkedIn; they can be anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's a good place to start. And with that being said, it is a lot easier to pick one platform instead of doing all of them. But that doesn't mean you can't use all of them if you want to. You should. The more, the better. I feel personally I want to post on every single one,
But start small if you
but
need to.
start
Like,
small.
get comfortable. And I think, Anthony, the formula that you gave for that's brilliant.
Mm,
It's an absolutely brilliant little schematic to follow, and that makes it easy. And then you can just kind of expand on it little by little.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for being with us today. We had a good topic today. We went a little bit longer. Oh, that's
Meh.
okay.
It's hump day. We got to get through it somehow, right?
That's right. That's right. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.